Starting to get a little bit cold, isn't it?
Okay. It is, yeah.
Ready? Lads, is that all right? Okay, either way, we'll start recording. So, good evening, bienvenue, Dieu vive, and welcome everyone across Canada, across Ireland, wherever you may be tuning in from or watching from. Thank you very much for being with us. On behalf of the Embassy of Ireland in Canada, I'm delighted to be able to present today's event to you all. It's one I'm particularly excited about myself, given the subject matter, but especially because of the two heavyweight names we've lined up for you. So the usual rules apply with these virtual events. We'll keep our fingers crossed that the technology holds firm. But if there are any gremlins in the system, we have our phantom technician in the background who will work to get everything back on track, so the show will go on. Before I introduce our two guests, I'd just like to very briefly explain the what and the why of today's event. So in short, we're going to have a chat with the two lads that I'll introduce later on, a chat that will hopefully probe deep into the considerable wells of their footballing brains. So that's the what, but more importantly for us is the why, and the reason why we're doing this. And it's basically our way in the embassy of acknowledging the truly remarkable role that the GAA and the clubs in Canada have played throughout the pandemic here in Canada. So the community we represent in Canada, it's a big one, covering the whole country, and the over 25 GAA clubs that we now have established here. But given the times we're living through at the moment, we can't let this moment pass without issuing a very sincere thank you on behalf of the embassy, but also from a personal perspective. Having played Gaelic football all my life, I know that what a GAA club represents, it goes far beyond what happens on the pitch. And we saw that here throughout the months of March, April, May, and even up to the present day. I know that when you're in a club at home, certainly when we were younger, we used to see adult members coming into the club on their lunch breaks or whatever, and tidying up after an event the night before, painting a wall, and then, you know, heading off and going back to work. And you slowly realize that these clubs, they don't just happen, and they're not just gifted by corporations or governments or anything like that. They're sustained by people, people who want to contribute to their community. And I think nowhere is this selfless spirit more evident than in GAA clubs abroad. So throughout the pandemic here, when COVID struck back in March, certainly in the first 6 to 8 weeks, from mid-March, it was a struggle to keep up. And one of the biggest priority for us at the embassy was how the Irish community was getting on, and especially the most vulnerable people in the Irish community. But as soon as we picked up the phone to figure out what was going on and how to get to those people, we realized pretty quick that we needn't have worried. Irish groups, organizations, communities, with the GAA clubs at the very center of it, they'd already banded together, they'd formed ad hoc committees, they divvied out resources, divvied out jobs, and they found the most vulnerable people, and they got to them and they helped them. So that was extremely inspirational for us. While it was inspirational, it was also something that I expected, which is obviously, it's a ridiculous standard to hold anyone to. But coming from a GAA background, you do realize that is what it's about. That's the ethos of what the GAA is and what GAA clubs represent. So to those of you who are listening, who were involved in that effort, and indeed who still are involved in that effort, a very, very sincere thank you. And for our friends in Quebec, our club in Quebec, et maintenant, permettez-moi de m'excuser auprès de nos amis GAA de Patriots de Québec, dans la ville de Québec, pour le fait que cet événement, par nécessité, se tient en anglais. Et bien qu'ils ne comprennent pas ce que je suis en train de dire, je signale nos deux invités qui sont responsables. Pourtant, ce que nous n'ignorons pas est le fait que les membres de votre club sont non seulement d'excellents ambassadeurs pour le GAA au Canada, mais aussi d'excellents ambassadeurs pour la langue française au sein de la GAA. Et je voudrais reconnaître le très bon travail que vous faites ici sur les deux fronts. Et une fois encore, je vous présente mes excuses pour les contraintes qui nous empêchent de mener une portion de cet événement en français. So, with that said, I would like to hand over to, and to introduce to a lot of people, our new Ambassador Designate of Ireland to Canada, Eamon McKee. Ambassador McKee is going to be with us for the next 4 years, and I know he's very keen to get out and meet as many of you as possible, travel restrictions permitting. Following on from our previous ambassador, Jim Kelly, who was, those of you who knew him, he was a stark raving mad Dub supporter. It's with a heavy heart that I have to tell you that our new ambassador is another Dub. So we can continue to expect the sales gloating that comes with supporting the best team in the country. Ambassador McKee.
Thanks, John, and thanks to you and Laura actually for setting up this event, and it's great to be part of it. And I just want to pick up what you said there about the GAA, and I came across that myself. It's not just in the places where we'd expect the GAA to be strong, which is in Ireland, obviously, and in countries with a strong Irish diaspora. When I was in Korea, the Seoul Gaels were there, and they played that role as well for young Irish people who left Ireland in the wake of the financial crisis to find a job, teach English largely in Korea. But the GAA was a home for those in Korea, and it wasn't just for the Irish. I mean, it could be young people from Europe, the United States would join the clubs because they were focused on the sport and focused on the social life, and as you say, focused on the welfare of the members. So I saw that firsthand in Korea. And it was also right across Asia. The Asian Gaelic Games were a huge success every year, accompanied by, interestingly enough, the Asia Pacific Irish Business Forum, which was run by the GAA as well, and inspired by a colleague of mine, Peter Ryan, who's now our ambassador in Wellington. But he did fantastic work pulling all of that together. More recently, I've been doing some work in the UAE because Ireland is at Expo in Dubai, and again, in the UAE, the huge support and influence of the GAA with the young Irish over there is a real testament. In fact, it was quite funny when I was in Korea because the county players who were emigrating tended to stop off and stay in the UAE, and very few county players made it all the way to Korea, which just explained the Seoul Gaels not doing too well in the first few competitions, and then I think actually they won eventually, but they were always a bit frustrated that the county players stopped off in Dubai, didn't make it all the way to Korea. But no, it was great, and I want to add my own tribute to the GAA and why this is important. So listen, I'm here. I've been 2 weeks in lockdown, as you say, looking forward to getting out and about and meeting everybody. I know you're probably disappointed at the second Dublin-based ambassador in this role, and Sam stays in Dublin, but there we go. There we go. And delighted to get out and about eventually, hopefully. Tomorrow is my first day of freedom after 2 weeks of lockdown, so we'll be exploring the immediate neighbourhood. But the first chance I get, I'll be out to meet the Irish community and the GAA right across Canada. So thanks for the opportunity to say hello. Thanks to Ciaran and Finian for taking part, and again to John and Laura for setting up this evening of Q&A and chat. So again, thank you and have a great evening, guys.
Thanks very much, Ambassador. That's great. And yeah, I think it's just me who's disappointed with another Dublin ambassador. I was chatting to the ambassador last week about this, and he said the GAA, it's a bit predictable, isn't it? Which is exactly the type of thing you'd expect to hear from a Dublin supporter. Anyway, we'll move on to the main event. So without further ado, I will briefly introduce our two guests. So first up, we have Finian Hanley. Finian has had a truly remarkable inter-county career. After a slew of underage success, beginning with an under-14 Féile title with his club Salt Hill, he finished with an All-Ireland under-21 title with Galway in 2005. It was that year that he was drafted into the Galway senior team at the age of 20, making his debut in the Connacht final, which is no mean feat, which Galway won. From then until he retired from inter-county football in 2017, that's a full 13 seasons later, he was a mainstay at full-back, apart from one ill-advised foray into midfield for a year, but we'll talk about that later. Unsurprisingly, his leadership was acknowledged by successive Galway managers, and he served as captain for a number of years. Not only had he a ridiculously good career in terms of consistency and longevity at inter-county level, he was also a key part of no less than 5 international rules series with Ireland, making the fullback berth his own and winning 9 caps, if I'm not mistaken, as well as serving as vice-captain on one tour. There's also a brilliant clip on YouTube of him getting absolutely flattened by an Australian player, Campbell Brown, an absolute gent of a man, Campbell, actually. Just type in Finian Hanley and Campbell Brown and you'll get it. Finian also bears a striking resemblance to famed American actor James Franco, although that's become a tenuous resemblance in more recent years as both men are aging quite badly. But most importantly, however, was the All-Ireland Club Championship he won with Salt Hill Knocknacarra in 2006, winning man of the match in the final. It says here in my notes that he only got to play in because of a decisive and brilliant goal scored in the semi-final. I don't know what that alludes to. Now, that's an impressive list of achievements. It's very hard to trump that. But just before Finian gets a swelled head, we'll introduce our second guest. So Ciaran Kilkenny, 27 years of age, 6 All-Ireland medals, 7 Leinster medals, 5 National Leagues, 3 All-Stars with Dublin, 1 Dublin and Leinster club title with Castleknock. He also won 2 caps for Ireland, playing in 1 series of international rules. Ciaran is another big game player who won man of the match in last year's All-Ireland final. Prior to all of that, he signed for Australian rules club Hawthorn, but thankfully for all of us and for the GAA as a whole, he decided to come home, and the rest is history. He was also apparently asked to join the Dublin senior hurling squad at one point. And look, there may be more, but I'm just going to cut it there because I'm feeling inadequate enough as it is. Gentlemen, welcome, and thank you both for taking the time to join us. Any mistakes in the intros? All okay?
All fine, all fine.
Okay. I should add to everyone watching, this is going out live on YouTube, so anyone can submit questions, so please do so. I should see them. I'll be looking at them on my phone here. So if you have any questions, just fire away and I'll do my best to get them in. I'd like to thank everyone as well who already submitted questions into us during the week. Incidentally, we had a Conor Barry from Montreal who asked me specifically, he said, listen, just go easy on Cork football. And I have to say to him that Cork football is so bad that it didn't even cross my mind to go near them, to poke fun at them. So Cork football is safe. So we'll start, lads. I have a number of questions that were sent in to us. But to start off, we'll just chat about the last few months. So Ciaran, you would have been well into the National League with Dublin. Finian, you would have been ramping up club preparations around March when the lockdown hit. So Finian, first of all, how was lockdown for you? How did you keep busy and stay fit? And what was it like getting back training with your club mates there in recent weeks?
Yeah, it was strange, John, to be honest. I suppose the whole thing is, we don't need to go into it, but the whole thing is quite strange. The last couple of months have been changed for everyone, and I think at the start of the year we didn't think we'd be where we are now. So we were actually preparing to go to New York with the club. We had a league game played. We'd about 2 months of training, and I know it was actually it was going quite well. And we were due to go to New York for Paddy's weekend. Clubmate of ours, his father sadly passed away. Club stalwart Sean Armstrong, and last year, and we were due to go to New York to play a memorial game on St. Patrick's Day. So it was that was due to happen on the 17th of March. We were due to fly out on the 13th, and the night before we were due to go, we had a meeting arranged and everything was cancelled. So obviously that was disappointing. So into lockdown, everyone left that night, and we didn't reconvene for whatever 2-3 months after. It was all on your own. So everyone was trying to keep going, didn't know what was happening, didn't know when we'd be back. There was still dates, still fixtures in the calendar, but they were all like everything else in the world. Everything was changing on a daily basis. So really it was, we went into a 2-kilometer lockdown in Galway City, where you had to stay within that. Now we were lucky enough, we've Salt Hill and the prom within that. So out for a run, putting the dumbbells in the back garden and stuff like that, and really just trying to stay fit that way. The 5Ks were obviously a big thing. Tried a couple of those, not good for the knees, but we were that was really it, and trying to stay in some shape. But it was good in one way. It was good to kind of step away from the training pitch and recover. And I think a lot of players said the same thing. They were able to recover. Now we're playing at club level. It's a level below inter-county, but I think a lot of players were able to use that time to fix whatever injuries they had and stuff. So I use that time because the body isn't in great shape at all at this stage. So that kind of helped. But really just running on the roads and all that sort of stuff. So look, it was long, and it was great to be back with the club when the time came.
Well, that's great, thanks. Yeah, and actually you hit on a point there, and I'll ask you, Ciaran, because one thing I'm thinking of, so you would have won your All-Ireland in September, so I don't know what Dublin do, but you might have started ramping up preparations for the following year around November maybe. And the likes of you might find yourself playing in an All-Ireland final in December, having been training, for well over a year. And I was wondering, would that affect, players' freshness, or what do you think about that?
Yeah, like the lockdown has been very challenging for everyone, but I suppose from the start, we were playing in the National League at that stage. But just the lockdown in general, I really took a positive mindset towards the lockdown, and it was a great opportunity for me to reflect on different aspects of my life, and also it was a very great opportunity to bond with my family. My granny from Portlaoise ended up staying with us for 8 weeks during lockdown, so we had great fun with her, playing games out the back garden, throwing tennis balls, batting balls to each other. We had great fun with my granny over them 8 weeks. And I suppose the big thing for me was inspiring to see the generosity and goodwill of the GAA in raising funds for numerous different charities, and how innovative and creative GAA clubs were in thinking of different challenges or runs or cycles or swims to do in aid of good causes. And that was the really inspiring thing, how people really flipped lockdown and turned it into a positive to raise funds for vital things. And as well as that, I'm a primary school teacher as well, so one of my friends recommended that I would do a skills challenge per day, and I only initially was going to do it for a week, but to see how much people that took part was really amazing. So I kept that going for I'm trying to think how long it was. I think it was 9 weeks, and I ended up having great crack with my mum. She was video recording everything and took part in a few challenges, so that was great as well. And did a good bit of cycling, and really it was a really good opportunity as well to explore the local nature around all of us as well. So a lot of people were going to different parts of their county or country to see different beautiful areas. So it was a great opportunity to do things, because normally we'd be in the thick of training, and you'd be training 4, 5, 6 times a week, and you're really in the zone there. So I'll probably never get this time back again. So I use it as a time to do different things and try and turn it into a positive, and try and I suppose contribute to other things as much as I could.
No, that's great. I think you're right. I mean, I know our audience tonight is primarily a GAA one, so it's easy for us to send platitudes their way, but it's true. The GAA is reliable. In terms of doing the right thing for the right people, and the fact that this was kind of an emergency situation, the fact that they stood up is brilliant, very reassuring. So those clips, you said a friend told you to do it. I thought it might have been your agent telling you to keep momentum going on Brian Kilkenny.
Oh, no, it was funny. Like I'd only initially, because you can only imagine how hard it was for kids to change a routine, and not seeing their friends, not playing sports. So and for me, like, to see some of the messages from parents and kids and how much it meant to them really touched my heart, and to see how creative they can be, and actually you could see a lot of the same kids were doing the challenges, and to see their actual improvement was really fulfilling to see as well. And it felt like I was making a difference throughout lockdown. So that was my purpose through lockdown, is to keep them going for as long as I could. And that was really, really inspiring. And even to get messages since from other clubs that use them at under 6, under 7, under 8. So that was very fulfilling to hear that, and to know that I somewhat made somewhat bit of a difference throughout lockdown. So that was great, and actually improved my own skills as well. So a small bit, but no, it was great.
No, you absolutely did make a difference, and I mean, you mightn't feel like it, but like, you are a superstar, in the GAA. So to have you doing that, kids seeing that is massive. So no, well done, and thanks for doing that. So in terms of the club championship that's being played out across counties at the minute, and my commiserations to both of you. I know you're both out at this stage, but this happens every year. And Finian, I'll ask you this, but this happens every year when we see club football on TV. People see the likes of Currafin, Galway Club, in Ballyboden, whoever, and they start to say, Currafin could mix it with a county team easily. Finian, like, can you try and explain the gulf in standard that exists between a really, really good club team like Currafin, and it pains me to say that, of course, but the difference between them and an inter-county team? What is the difference? What is that gulf?
There's a lot of debate about this, and you hear it kind of every year coming into the All-Ireland club final and stuff. And obviously Currafin, for what they're an absolutely phenomenal team, arguably the greatest club team of all time. And people debate this day in and day out. I think, like, their setup and their commitment to the game and the club and the people they have in the club, and just the model they have going, and how they're producing players, and they've got really good structures. Like, they've really good team ethos, which is, it's very hard to find. Obviously, the Dublin, the current Dublin team are doing it at an inter-county level. But what the Currafin lads are doing is everyone is buying into the cause, and it's selfless, and it's all about winning, and it's all about doing the right thing for the team. And that's very hard to find. Normally you have 30 players and 1 or 2 will jump off and go their own way at a crucial moment in a game. You're level. Some lad might try something that's not part of the plan because he sees the headlights or he sees the glory himself. They don't have that, and over the last number of years, they've just been remarkable in taking every game as it comes, and 3 All-Irelands in a row at club level. It's phenomenal because the year is so long. The debate on club versus county, I do think, personally, I think the gulf is, and we played an All-Ireland club final a long time ago now, but it's I think there is a gulf in class. I would really compare it to Premiership soccer and Championship soccer. I would think it's that big. I think when you step into the inter-county arena, no matter who you're playing, everyone is so well conditioned and everyone is so like it's like a job. It's so much different, like club football, and I'm back in those circles. After finishing up with inter-county, it's really you're coming a lot later. Your training is a little bit more relaxed. It's not as tough. Your league games aren't as tough. A lot of your championship games aren't as tough as they are at inter-county. Your first round in the National League of inter-county, and it's the level is so high now that the inter-county footballers are at such a level of fitness, and their training week is so much. It's like a job, and so I do think the level of class or the level of fitness and physique from club to inter-county is huge. And I know Finn are a remarkable team, but I do think that no matter who they play out of the 31 or 32 counties, including the likes of New York or London, they would have it very tough. They would have it very tough. It wouldn't be straightforward. And I do think there's a massive gulf between club and county. I do.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. No, you constantly hear this. I think it's Joe Brawley is constantly waxing lyrical about it, and he's right. They play an amazing brand of football. And again, this is really hard to say, given I've done the sharp end of that.
Yeah, it's easy. Look, it's easy for them to look at it. The club football is great, and we're watching it now on TV, and it's super to watch. It's a little bit easier, but like the big players are standing out. The inter-county footballers are standing out in these club games. Really, really class. And the likes of Brawley and these boys will always, look and say, oh yeah, it's great, and we want the football play that way. Football at inter-county level is so professional. It's not always going to be played that way, unfortunately, because it's elite sport. It's the highest, and it's where everyone wants to be. So, that's my opinion.
100%, yeah. And Ciaran, curious. So you got to play with Castleknock this year. I'm wondering, was it different being able to play with Castleknock, fully focused with them, knowing that you weren't juggling the Dublin thing as well, and knowing that when this is over, I can concentrate on going for the 6th All-Ireland. Is that nice to be able to compartmentalize like that?
Yeah, it was amazing, really. Like you had 6 or 7 weeks immersed with your friends, your club mates, and just being back down in the club in a very relaxed but serious environment. And like you'd never got that. We would have never got that opportunity before. Usually, I suppose over the last couple of years, we've been fortunate to be at the business end of the season, and when that's over, you've only a week or two to get yourself ready to get back playing with the club. Whereas now you had 2 months nearly with your club training, having the crack, and just to have that bond with your teammates for 6 or 7, 8 weeks and get a good crack at the club championship with each other. It was really, really enjoyable, and even to be back down immersed with the club then as well. We'd a fundraiser with the club, and like the amount of people that got involved and the energy that it created within the community. And I know it was going on in every club in the world, not only in Ireland, in Canada, and all over the world. Every club is doing something, and everyone understands how it feels and how motivating and inspiring it is when everyone goes and is so driven towards one goal and for a common cause. It's really inspiring. So to be back down with the club was a bit of crack, a bit of fun, and really enjoyed it, I have to say.
Good. And just on the inter-county season that's coming up now, there'll probably be a little less time in between games. And is that a good thing? Is that like less time for analysis, less time for video sessions, and just more playing? Is that something that feeds into your thought process?
Oh yeah, sure. The lads will be delighted with that. Like it's part and parcel of it, but I suppose one of the not so rewarding things is the long video analysis sessions and the meetings and stuff like that. So I suppose having more games more frequently, the better. And lads will be really looking forward to it. But look, the year's unique. This year's unique, and to be even have a championship to look forward we're very fortunate to have that, and to be back out in the field training now at the moment. We're very fortunate to be doing that in a safe environment. So to the buzz of even actually meeting all the guys again on the field, having not seen each other in weeks and months, was incredible. Like, and to be back out in that competitive environment, driving each other on, you just can't compare to it. So it's been really fun since we came back, and really excited about this year's championship, and the fact that potentially you could run through all through autumn and then to December. It's something to be excited about.
Yeah, no, we're all looking forward to it. So on the All Ireland, Finian, I'll ask you first. Who do you fancy for the All Ireland this year, and why?
I do give my own county a great chance, John, I must say. It's a funny one this year because, like as Ciaran said there, it's heading into winter, and you know, we don't have the obviously weather is going to play a factor, you know, because the National League, you know, the last couple of years, and Ciaran would have played in a lot of, you know, tough games down in Tralee and, you know, in Galway, and the pouring rain and the wind and everything. And you're going to have that no matter where the championship is on this year. So, you know, either it can be a leveler for some teams, and some teams can perform better in it. I think, look, Dublin are the team to beat, and you know, that's just science. That's just the way it is at the minute, and we just have to accept that. They're the standard bearers. You know, Kerry are coming. Are they there yet? I don't know. I think our own guys are as good as you know, have as good a chance of getting to a final as we had in years, probably since we last won the All Ireland. I think, you know, we're playing Sligo in the first game. We've got kind of final between, you know, against either Mayo or Roscommon, straight semi-final, straight final. So, you know, on any given night, you know, a bad call or anything like that could go anyone's way. And I think, you know, Galway have really good players this year, and players on form, you know, with their clubs. They're all performing. You know, a top manager, or you know, a legend in Pádraig Joyce leading them. And I think I give us a chance to get there. But I do, you know, to give you a straight answer, I still think that the lads from the capital are you know, are the team to beat, and they probably will win it this year, unless we can sabotage something.
Pádraig Joyce, I remember Pádraig Joyce playing. He was a great man to pull a fella's arm in and pull them down and win a free for himself. So if any man could engineer a sneaky way past Dublin, it's him. Ciaran,
yeah, we lead everything, I'd say. Yeah.
Ciaran, who would you be most worried about this year? Which team? Or can you even go into that?
Yeah,
say the right thing now, Ciaran. Say the right. Say the right
well,
thing.
it's really level playing field. Like, no one really knows where anyone is at. Like, every county's only been back the last week or two, and no one really knows where anyone's at. No one has been together collectively for a long time. So it'll be interesting to see the first couple of league games where teams are at, physically and athletically, what kind of fitness levels they're at. So no one really knows where anyone is at. So you don't really know. You won't really know until the first couple of games, or you're playing competitive games where teams are at. Like, so it's been a long time since the National League. Like, it was March, and it's September now. That was a long time ago. So it'll be interesting to see how teams are. You just have to kind of prepare yourself as best as possible and get as much work done until then. But I don't really you can't really say at this early stage, but it'll be competitive anyway.
Like a politician, no answer. That's fine. I'm only joking. Okay, well, listen, as I mentioned at the beginning, this is going out primarily to our amazing GAA clubs across Canada. So I wonder, can either of you tell me about any contact you've had with GAA clubs in countries outside of Ireland, and what struck you most about them? Maybe Ciaran first on this one.
Yeah, I was only telling Finian before I came on that I was fortunate enough to meet Mr. Trudeau in the Phoenix Park a couple of years ago. I was playing a bit of hurling with him in the Phoenix Park. He had quite good skills from his hockey skills, so it was nice to meet him, and would have been back and forth with Jim Kelly over the last couple of years. Met him that day, and he's a big Dub supporter, so know Jim well. And I suppose that's, like, it's so lovely when you go to a different country. I've been fortunate enough to been to different places all over the world, in All-Star tours, and then even trips away to New York, San Francisco, Dubai, and it's just so inspiring to see how Irish people look after each other, when they come over to a foreign country, help them settle in, get a job, get them involved with the local club. And I have a sister of mine over in Australia, and she hadn't played football in years, but when she moved over to Australia, she straight away got back involved in the GAA over in Melbourne, and developed a core group of friends from that, and just how everyone looks out for each other. And it's so nice to see people celebrate our cultures and traditions as well, and see that they're still alive there, albeit they're away from Ireland. It's really nice to see, and I've been very fortunate to meet people all over the world through the GAA, and that's what I suppose makes the GAA so special, that it's still played and celebrated all over the world, and friendships are made.
No, thanks, that's great. And Finian, you've been around yourself. Same question to you.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. All right, to be fair, it's you know, and it's only when you go outside the country you see the level of work that's going in. And I know there's all American championships, there's all Australian, there's the Asian games and everything. We went to New York and London a lot when I was playing, because you know we used to play in New York both in the championship, but we used to go on FBD league trips to New York and stuff like that as well. And you know, you'd always go to one of the clubs to either train or to meet the kids there. You know, Rockland up in the Bronx, or Shannon Gales out in Queens. The last time I was in New York, we went to Shannon Gales, and funnily enough, one of the ladies involved in the club grew up about 5 doors up the road from me at home. So, and I didn't know that. You know, I didn't know she was involved in the club there. But meeting them and the level of work they put in out there, and what they do when teams come over, they're so grateful that the teams come to their club from Ireland, because you know it's a real sense of home. You know, obviously they're far away, and you know a lot of people miss home, even though they've been out of the country almost all of their lives, really. Same in Australia. It's a long way away, and trips we've had out there with Irish teams, you know, going to Michael Cusack's in Sydney, meeting, you know, 70, 80-year-old people who've been out there all their lives, and just to see the joy they get when people from home, like ourselves at the time, come into the club, they love it, and they put a big emphasis on, you know, making it special. And you see the level of work that goes in the clubhouses, the pitches, like it's really a home away from home from them. So it's a credit, and the GA really is all over the world. It's growing all the time. You see it out there yourselves in Canada. You know, 25 clubs is massive, and a lot of people, you know, some people in Ireland wouldn't know that there's GA in Korea, or you know, out in Oregon and places like that. So it's phenomenal, really, and they really give a warm welcome when you go over.
You know, what always strikes me about the expat clubs is how competitive it is. You know, even if the standard isn't great, and I haven't seen any clubs in Canada play yet, so I'm not casting dispersions there, but even if the standard is poor, it's so competitive, and it means so much, which is brilliant, because it's not just paying lip service to the game, which is great. So we have a club, a unique enough club in Canada, in Quebec City. They're a francophone club. So they've sent in a question in French. I don't know if either of you want to have a stab at this, but I'll throw it out anyway to the crowd. So, pensez-vous que ce serait une bonne idée que le GAA organise plus de matchs entre les équipes intercounty à l'étranger pour augmenter la visibilité des sports gaéliques? Et si vous êtes pour, pensez-vous que Dublin accepterait une invitation de venir jouer à Québec? So, Ciaran, actually, that's for you. Dublin.
Absolument, c'est une bonne idée. Je suis pas mal certain que Dublin. At Dublin. My French is a little bit rusty here, so bear in mind. At Dublin, s'attarder sur l'occasion à Quebec.
Well, to my untrained ear, that was pitch perfect.
Got a bit rattled for a second, but it came back to me in the end.
Listen, we could move on naturally as if that was nothing, but I think it's fair to say if this wasn't a virtual event, you'd be getting a standing ovation. And if it was in Quebec, they'd be rushing the stage. So no, well done. I really appreciate that. Okay, so while we're on foreign matters, Finian, I want to come back to you, because I know you're a walking trivia machine on all things American sports. Just wondering, just a random one that came in, what other sports would you follow apart from GAA?
Good question. I suppose anything at all, really. like the rest of us, we're all interested in sport. Even if we think we're not interested, we watch anything if it's on. But I suppose personally, look, we all follow soccer. I'm a Man United fan all my life, unfortunately at the minute. Boxing is kind of, my number one most favorite sport outside of GAA. I was a keen follower of boxing growing up. Watching fight. It was kind of a thing in our house. Boxing was a big thing in Connemara. My father was from Connemara, and anytime there was something on, we get the fight. The fight would be brought in for the weekend into the house, and we'd watch the Mike Tysons, Riddick Bowes of this world at heavyweight. It was always huge. So, huge boxing fan. I'm interested in just all the different weight classes and stuff, and how they prepare. Really, I think it's remarkable how they prepare and their mental capacity. Obviously we play in team sports, but when you put all that pressure onto one person, there's no one left once the whistle blows. It's just themselves. So I think it's a phenomenal sport. Soccer, hurling, I'd watch Anthem, but those are kind of three of my favorite sports. And the American sports, as you mentioned, Sundays are great because we get to watch the NFL now again. And that's good crack, even though it goes on late into the night on a Sunday night, but it's good old crack, and I enjoy that as well.
You haven't got into the curling yet, have you? It's big here in Canada.
Well, we can for the next one.
No, that's fine. How about you, Ciaran?
Yeah, same as Finian. I'd be into pretty much everything, and love trying new sports. Love trying anything. I actually was I was in New Zealand a year and a half ago, and I just love doing water sports. Love doing surfing, love going jet skiing, river surfing, love all that stuff. Actually, I went with a group of 40, just random people from all over the world, and actually became friends with a guy from Canada. He lives in Vancouver. He always greeted me with "Hey, bud." So I always said I go and visit him. But now love that. Love doing a bit of horse riding. Love playing a bit of golf. Love any sort of activity, and I'm always open to trying new things.
Good on you, good on you. I should add that we've had an offer in already. Wondering, have you considered moving over to Toronto to play for St. Mike's? You can stick that one in your back pocket. St. Mike's. They're the first.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to go to St. Mike's, Toronto, definitely.
Well, hold your horses. They're the first in. They might be the best offer now. Just hang on.
Quebec is where you're going.
A good question that came in during the week was if you could be world class at any sport, apart from the one you are at the moment, which one would you choose and why? So Ciaran first.
Golf, I'd say, because you just get to travel the world and get well paid, I suppose.
Finian?
Yeah, it has to be golf, really. They follow the sun for a living. Starting in Hawaii and finishing in New York. Who wouldn't want to do that? It has to be golf. It's clean, it's dry. You get to wear the nice shiny clothes, and obviously you get well paid. It beats either out in Loch George in Galway on a Tuesday night, getting soaked wet, or up in DCU doing press ups in a storm. So yeah, no, it has to be golf. Yeah.
Funny, that's the first one that popped into my head. I'm glad you both reaffirmed that. I thought I was going soft. Okay, that's good.
No.
Okay, we're going to touch on the international rules. Finian, we have a few questions around this. You played in 5 separate rule series, isn't that right? I think you got 9.
Yeah.
Which, if it isn't a record, it's close. I remember Sean Marty Lockhart was playing there for years, but you might have him bet at this stage. Listen, I know we can take it as a given. Club and county are the most important thing to you. Take that as a given. Park that. But apart from just looking for the odd free trip to Australia, what did selection mean to you personally?
The trips are great. But no, look, I think it was something. I think in 2006, and I was a couple of years in the county panel. It came to Galway. One of the test matches was in Galway. I remember it was in Pearse Stadium. It was a massive night. It was under lights. It was the first and last game played in Pearse Stadium under lights. And it was just, massive buzz around. To be selected then 2 years later to go to Australia. Sean Boylan was the manager. The whole experience was phenomenal, really, because you're getting to train with the best players in the country. People that you've admired for a number of years, and then you're rubbing shoulders with them in the dressing room and learning from them. And then to travel to Australia, you to get treated like a professional for 4 weeks was brilliant. But to be selected, people kind of have conflicting views on it, on the game. But I think anyone who's played it, and myself and Ciaran were on the team in 2013. They have very fond memories, and I think no matter if they've 6 or 7 All-Irelands or they have no All-Irelands, I think everyone has fond memories. You make great friends. You learn a lot. To play under the likes of Anthony Tohill, Sean Boylan, that's huge experiences to get, because obviously massive figures in the GAA, and I would never have got those opportunities otherwise. So it was a huge honor. And when you go to Australia, then and you're in a stadium that's full, half Irish, half Australian, and the national anthems have been played. There's a huge buzz, and I know people at home don't see it, but the Irish people out there see it, and it's I must say, especially 2008, and I had a number of series after. It was phenomenal. Really was really great experience, definitely.
I'm glad you brought up that 2008 series, because was it true that after you beat Australia, you beat Australia in Melbourne, that you were doing a lap of the pitch and you saw some club mates in the stand and you kind of got ahead of yourself, a bit big shot, and you took off your gloves and you threw them into the crowd, and then they were swiftly thrown back at you.
I have no comment on that, John. I have no comment on that. Yeah, I didn't like the I didn't like the club mates I met. So yeah, that wasn't a gesture of any sort. No, but it's a great experience, and for someone like me who was Galway, we weren't reaching finals at the time. It's a lot harder for the Ciarans of this world to play because they're playing all year. But for us who were out of the championship a bit earlier to then kind of carry on and play at a level was great, and to go into the winter and obviously tour, it prolonged our seasons as well. So no, it was fantastic.
Ciaran,
and that didn't happen, by the way.
Well, I witness actually. But Ciaran, I know you played international rules yourself. But I have to ask you about your however brief, your stint with the AFL with Hawthorn. I'm just curious, you went down there at the end of 2012, I think, for a few weeks before deciding it wasn't for you, which is a massively mature decision for someone that age. Well done on that. But can you explain the reasons behind the decision, and was it in any way a sliding doors moment where you might have stayed?
Yeah, it was only, I just finished the Leaving Cert and had been in discussions and negotiations with two clubs at the time, Hawthorn and Carlton Footy Club, and ended up making the decision. I went out for 2 weeks with a trial on Hawthorn and met the club, and decided to go with Hawthorn and did a full pre-season there. Loved it, the combative nature of their training, lots of hard running, a lot of wrestling, a lot of boxing, a lot of interval type training, and we did training camp in Mullaba in the Gold Coast, and really loved the training side of things. But I suppose the different between the GAA and the AFL is, in the AFL, the club, it's a franchise. You've got players coming from all over Australia to represent a club per se, and then I suppose what's so unique about our sport is everyone is representing where they're from, their community, their county, where they're from, and it's just something really special. And my club at the time were in an All-Ireland Junior championship. We'd won the junior Dublin and Leinster, so and then as well as that, I went to an all-Irish primary and secondary school, and I love our culture, I love our language, I love our traditions, and I just, when I was growing up, when I was kicking ball out the front, and coming back from games, I always would have dreamt of playing in Croke Park. So I suppose that came into my decision, and I just had such a strong bond and relationship with a lot of guys. I'd played in the minor All-Ireland football and hurling the year previous. We had lost both of them, one against Tipperary and one against Galway in the hurling. And I suppose a lot of those guys I'd been playing with since under 8s, under 9s, under 10s against them. Like Brian Fenton was with Raheny, Jack McCaffrey, Clontarf, Paul Mannion, Crokes, John Small, Ballymun. Played against these guys all the way up. So we just had a special bond. And I suppose loved the training over in Australia, but made the decision to come home, and was happy with it in the end.
Oh, thank God, yeah, because it's a game that I think would have really suited you as well. So, but the few weeks that you got, and I didn't know you'd done a full preseason, which would have been brutal, but in a good way. What was it like to see behind the curtain of a professional club like that? And I'm curious, what's the difference between a professional AFL club and an elite intercounty team, which you're with at the moment? And also, the second question: were you in any way intimidated by the fitness levels of the peers, the guys around you, during that preseason?
Yeah, like I'd say setups will be similar enough now. Intercounty's gone to it's an amateur sport, but it's on elite level. We're very much doing the same thing. I suppose the difference is in the AFL, you'd be training, you'd arrive into the club at 8:30, 9 o'clock. You'd do your training. You might have a couple of meetings afterwards. You might watch a bit of footage. You could be out at the club 1:30, 2 o'clock. And then I suppose with an intercounty team, you could be doing a gym session in the morning at 6 a.m. and then you could be meeting that night at 6 p.m. and you're still getting the same amount of time done, except you're leaving at 10 p.m. after doing, I suppose, a day of work then as well. So very much similar time. Obviously, they have more free time to do things in terms of recovery, masseuses, all that kind of stuff. But I would say similar in terms of, I suppose, sports science point of view and the time that players put into it.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. It's just mostly recovery, right? Seeing as we've touched on that, the issue of professionalism, and I'm going to ask Finian this deliberately because I don't want it to seem like I'm having a go at Dublin. People say they have a lot of money coming in there and all the rest of it, and that's the reason you're winning All Ireland. I don't buy that, by the way. But I am curious, Finian, your opinion on this anyway. In 2017, Kevin McStay was manager of Roscommon at the time. He threw out a figure, 15 grand. He said it cost 15,000 euro to run an intercounty team for a week, every week. Now, to me, outside the bubble, that seems like a grotesque amount of money to run an amateur team. I'm curious of your opinion on the balance and whether we've lost the balance between maintaining our amateur ethos, which is something a lot of us are very proud of, and then improving standards, which you need to spend money on to improve those standards. And if we have lost that balance, should it be curtailed somewhat, even finances or whatever, or should the thing just go pro to a degree? What do you think?
Yeah, it's the big question at the minute. In obviously media circles, and the media are going after, everything now. Financially in the GAA and obviously the GPA as well are in the spotlight. Yeah, look, it's come to a level now. It's an amateur game still, but we've got professional setups. As Ciaran alluded to there. And when I left, the intercounty scene, it was professional. Everything was you went to work in the day, but after work straight out to train. You were there till 10 o'clock at night. Sessions in the morning. Your weekends were taken, be it in-house training camps or whatever it is. And just the level it's gone to is absolutely phenomenal. The professional amateur argument. Look, we are professional, or the lads are professional, in all bar name. But I think that the issues you're having now is you've an amateur set, you've an amateur organization, but when you're trying to mix that with professionalism, it's very hard to keep them apart. And you saw it in rugby, a number of years ago, where they just had to split. The club had to go its own way, and then everyone else had to go with their provinces and their country. And look, did it do a disservice, or was it an issue then to kind of maintain the club game? It was, and we wouldn't like to see that. And I'm sure Ciaran would agree with me. We wouldn't like to go to professionalism, but I think it's there's structures in the GAA, and one thing you see at the minute is a lot of teams are looking at the rule book, and there's a handwritten book by the GAA with all these different rules, and people are going to them, and are they legal rules? Are they contracts? They're not. And can they be moved around? Of course they can, because it's an amateur game. So there's a fine line we're at the minute, I think, between professionalism and amateurism. Do I think it should be professional? No. Do I think Dublin are getting an unfair advantage? Absolutely not. I think that's nonsense, because I think the likes of Ciaran and the Dublin players, the Galway players are all getting their gear taken care of. They're all getting their their food, their supplements, you know, their expenses and all that sort of stuff. Look, you're telling me Kerry aren't getting the best of the best, or Donegal or Tyrone aren't getting the best of the best. Of course they are. Their players are getting exactly the same, or possibly more, as what the likes of Ciaran or the Galway lads are getting. And that's just the way it is. And obviously they have better fundraising pools to tap into, maybe than more so than a Carlow or a Roscommon or whatever it is. I do think, I suppose, just to finish on the point, I do think that, you know, it shouldn't be professional. Gaelic football shouldn't go to professional. I think it would ruin the sport. But I do think that the inter-county players and the level of effort that they're putting in at the minute, they do need to be rewarded. So, for instance, if there's a Galway player or a Sligo player, you know, his year should be mapped out financially to the point of he shouldn't have to be buying his own supplements. And there is a bit of a mismatch in that, where you have players buying their own stuff at times because some counties aren't distributing. So I think what the GAA should do is they should ring fence the inter-county footballers, you know, money at the start of the year, and that should be just allocated, and it should be for the player. And then at the end of the year, maybe a bonus of a holiday or something like that, you know, to take their wife or their girlfriend or the families away. I think the players would enjoy that, and it would be clear cut, and everyone would know, and we wouldn't be having this conversation. So look, it's a huge, it's on the cusp at the minute, and I hope it doesn't go over the edge.
That sounds like that makes a lot of sense. Ciaran, I don't know if you want to weigh in on that at all.
I think Finian said enough on that.
That's fine. No problem. No problem. We'll keep you out of that one. No, I think a lot of sensible arguments there. You should maybe look at getting involved in the GPA, Finian. Okay, contacting you. I'm conscious of time, so I'll cherry pick the last few questions here. Just on managers, so there was a few questions came in on Jim Gavin, Ciaran. Arguably the most successful Gaelic football manager in the history of the game, and I know Jim myself from the working days. What do you think he had, you know, broad strokes? What do you think he had that others didn't or don't?
Yeah, I wouldn't have had, I suppose, too much managers to compare it to. What Jim was just such a nice man, so understanding of his players, and really just facilitated us as a playing group, surround himself with good people, and very much, just facilitated it, and like understood how our day-to-day lives in terms of education, our jobs, our family, our friends, and just created that environment for us to be competitive with each other and drive the culture within the group. And we've been fortunate enough to have a lucky good couple of years, and I suppose, we're really excited now with Desi as the new manager. A lot of us would have played with him at underage level, minor and under 21. So it's exciting times to get to play with him at senior level as well. Massive. We've all a big relationship with Desi as well. So it's exciting times ahead.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, certainly from an outsider's point of view, to see how Dublin got on this year under Desi Farrell. Yeah. Finian, then in contrast, you went through about 60 managers during your time with Galway. Big names as well. I have them here: Kevin Walsh, Joe Kernan, Alan Mulholland, Tomas O'Flaherty, Peter Ford. Was John O'Mahony there when you started as well? Yeah. So look, I won't ask you who the best was or anything like that, but given all the different approaches of all those different managers, you must have an opinion on the importance of the role of manager.
Oh, definitely. I think it's huge importance. You know, the manager now, and you know, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about professionalism and paying people. Like the inter-county football manager is you know, so much on their plate at the minute, and they're the people. Like, obviously the players get stick, but the manager will get plenty of stick, you know, after a loss or whatever it is, and it's their fault. And particularly now with the game, the way it's gone tactically, you know, if you make a mistake or your matchups are wrong or whatever it is, or you're gone too defensive or you're gone too attacking, straight away the manager gets attacked. So, you know, it's of huge importance to organize all the different people, the physios, the selectors, team selection, and then you've got all the media to deal with and how you portray your message and stuff. So it's that job is just, you know, should it be a job? It probably should, and it should be a well-paid job as well. It would be in any other organization. I think from the managers I had, you know, loads of different approaches. We, unfortunately, John O'Mahony was the first manager, you know, huge success with Galway, you know, winning 2 All-Irelands. But to bring you into a panel, obviously he was the type of manager who would, he was the arm around the shoulder type of manager. He wasn't the tactician, but he was the man who really kind of, brought you and gave you that confidence to go and play. And the following year, Peter Ford, who we won an All-Ireland under 21 title with, and a Connacht senior title my first year. Very, very good then tactically. He was, well organised and really brought kind of a tactic base to Galway, which it hadn't seen before. So everyone has different approaches, and everyone's trying to find that sweet spot. Jim Gavin had it all, I suppose, and Ciaran, he mightn't have been perfect either, but he had great players. Just to go back to the international rules, Sean Boylan in 2008. I have to say, they talk about the horse whisperer, but Sean Boylan didn't have any tactics, or it wasn't a case of how we play or anything like that. He'd just tell you were 8 foot tall or 8 feet tall, and you were 8 feet tall. He'd chew the wall for the man. And I was watching the documentary last week or 2 weeks ago on him. Like, you could see why Meath were so successful. You would do anything for the man, a small man like that. But when he spoke, his story, he just told a story before a match about anything, and you just be thinking it had nothing to do with the game, nothing to do with anything else, but you're absolutely inspired. So sometimes that's all you need, and obviously a manager like that. So a lot of different approaches, but you take a bit from them all as well.
That's a great insight. No, thanks very much. That's brilliant. Okay, listen, last question of the evening. I wanted to finish up on arguably the most important one, and I hope you have a couple of nuggets for us here. So imagine a 12, 13-year-old self, and hopefully we have some young people watching this evening. What's the one bit of advice? What's that one vital thing that you would tell them to focus on over all other things in terms of football? Ciaran first, sorry.
Yeah, like, the biggest thing for me is skills. Be able to kick the ball off both feet, be able to hand pass the ball off both feet. Just be creative then with your skills. And then the biggest thing for me, though, if you want to compete at the elite level, is obviously you need drive, motivation, dedication. But to compete at the highest level, you have to be selfless as a teammate, be part of the team, good communication skills. And those are the players, I suppose, when players finish up, have most respect for, is those players that think of others ahead of themselves on the team and will do anything to make the person beside them look better, or for the betterment of the team. And those are the people that you want involved in the team or involved in the club. Everyone has them in their club. The guys who manage the second, the third team, do umpire, do linesman, people who just want to be part of something and something bigger than themselves is people that you want. But for young kids, it's just all about skills, enjoyment, and if you really want it and believe in it, work hard towards your goal and you'll achieve it.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't really say skills because I had no skills. I was the other end of the spectrum to Ciaran. I was the guy who fell over and blocked the ball, so they put me in cornerback when I was 6 or 7. So I think look, there's a place for everyone in football. There is people like myself who aren't the most skillful footballers, but really enjoy the game, and can look to other attributes like fitness or physique that you can actually work on, and if you're a cornerback or a fullback, where you can go at it, and personally that's what I had to do, because I wasn't a skillful footballer, but I just had to work hard and train. I know it's an old cliche to train harder than everyone else, but literally that's what I had to do to stay involved. I just had to try and have the edge all the time on the stuff I could control myself, because skill wasn't one of them. So I think if you're training and you think sometimes if you're a young kid and you're 9, 10, 11 and you might feel that Paul Mannion or Con O'Callaghan or someone in your group is being looked at favorably because they can kick it outside of the left or outside of the right. That's all well and good, but I think to grow in the game, you've got to kind of go after the things that you think you can improve, obviously improve your game, but really go after the, if you're fit and you're fast, use them to your strengths to progress, because there's a place in the pitch for everyone, not just people with the silky skills. So that's what I would say to young kids, that if you're a cornerback, really go after that and try and improve that as well by getting faster, getting stronger, getting fitter. And don't try and overdo it on stuff that might be not your best attribute. Work on them, but there's definitely, you can make it at intercounty or club or whatever it is, or in your team in Canada by working on other things, not just the obvious.
Brilliant. No, skills and playing to your strengths. I like that. I think Ciaran's point, Finian, was that if you had worked on your skills as a child, you would have got better. But
I wouldn't have been a cornerback. That's sound, yeah.
That's great. It's all under the umbrella of selflessness, and I really like the way you tie that in there. I mean, we were talking about Finn at the start, being everyone understanding that selflessness in the team, and then Ciaran, you mentioned it there, like that is essential. That everybody, ironically, in the team sometimes doesn't understand that they are in a team. So that's brilliant advice, and if that lands on even just one young mind this evening, well then it all would have been worthwhile. Listen, Finian and Ciaran, I'd like to thank you both profusely for giving your time and for engaging. It's been a really enjoyable and interesting conversation. The time flew. I know it's late there. I know it's after 11, so I just want to wrap it up for you. Finian, best of luck with Salt Hill in the coming years. I'm looking forward to watching you knocking Finn off their pedestal. It was great to see Ciaran actually in his club colours. Finian, this might be the first time I've ever seen you without a Galway top on. He's been wearing them Galway tops for 10 years around town, even when we're out nights out and everything. So thanks for making an effort, Finian. Ciaran,
no problem, John.
Best of luck with the championship with Dublin.
Thanks, John.
Sincerely hope you have a good run, all the way maybe to the semi-final even. That'd be great. Give someone else a chance this year. But really, thank you both, and thanks everyone for tuning in. That's it from us. Here's to seeing you all either on the pitch, on the sidelines, cheering your teams on again soon, God willing. Thank you, lads. Thank you, everyone else. Good night.
Bye.
Thanks, John.